schools will be holding their Board of Education meetings starting at 7 p.m. in the Colby High School auditorium. For more information on this and other stories, visit nwksradio.net.
Rocket 102.5.
Today we're starting off with temperatures in the 30s above freezing and light north breeze at 5 miles per hour. Calm and cloudy conditions being reported at all stations. Today being a transition day with a low pressure moving away, high pressure moving in, and a low pressure to follow for tomorrow. We'll see those winds turn to a south direction this afternoon. We'll see those winds turn to a south direction at 5 to 15 miles per hour later this morning, and then pick up to 15 to 30 miles per hour later in the afternoon. There will be a few peaks of sun that will allow temperatures to warm to around 60. Then tonight, lows will be around 40 with winds picking up with gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour and eventually up to 50 miles per hour tomorrow. Tomorrow will be windy and warmer. We'll go highs around 70, and then we got a shot for some afternoon rumbles of thunder and maybe picking up a quarter to half an inch. This is meteorologist Chris Schromick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
At FNB Bank, we know family comes first. Whether you're opening a savings account for your kids, buying a new home, or planning for the future, we're here to help every step of the way. With personalized service and flexible options, we make banking easy for your growing family. FNB Bank, serving families, strengthening communities. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Earl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas is hiring now, looking for technicians of all levels and a service advisor to join their team. Enjoy competitive wages, consistent work, plus 401k and health benefits, all in a great work environment. If you're ready for a rewarding career with a trusted dealership, apply today. Visit them in person on South Commerce Road in Goodland or apply on Facebook. Join the Earl Chevrolet GMC family today.
Goodland Furniture and Sleep Center is your home for no interest for up to 18 months. They have it all: furniture, mattresses, appliances, plus the lowest price guarantee. Delivery is available. Find your comfort at home with Goodland Furniture and Sleep Center with no interest for up to 18 months. Located on 17th Street in Goodland, Kansas, and around the world at goodlandfurniture.com.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Being a Nebraska football fan these past few years and watching this team week in and week out, I gotta compare it to like doing drugs. You know you shouldn't do it, but you can't stop. Kids, don't do drugs.
The region's only local sports talk.
Not this again.
Yes, this again.
Broadcasting on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, simulcasting on Goodland's 730 Gold KLOE.
Guy is everywhere.
Discussing it all from the preps.
Brumbaugh fakes the three, fires it from the corner. Yes!
To the pros.
They set up the screen. McLaughlin has it with Miners in front. McLaughlin's got a first down. Inside the 10, inside the 5. Touchdown, Denver.
The Blitz is presented by Earl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and FNB Bank, as well as the Insurance Agency, Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
Has to dribble out of trouble in the paint, backs up, turns, fires a three from the top. It's good! He did it again! Clayton's got 28. Florida leads by 1. What a shot by Walter Clayton.
Slider lace down the third base line. A fair ball bouncing toward the corner. Blanco speeds around third. He's in to score to give the Royals the lead. And Bobby Witt Jr. cruises into second with a go-ahead RBI double. his first big hit of 2025.
Open, he'll hit this well to left center field. Laduca going back on the track, and it's gone! Wynn caught that one and just kept it going. Opposite field home run, a 2-run shot by the pinch hitter, Mickey Moniak.
Curveball smacked into right. That's going to send Lotus to the plate. Here comes English. The throw not in time. In away. And the Cats walk it off and sweep Texas Tech to get to 8-1 in conference play.
Good Monday morning, everybody. We are back and rolling here on the final day of March 2025. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz, of course, on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, as well as nwksradio.net. And, of course, the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream on Facebook, X, and YouTube. Thanks to all you out there watching there on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. It's been one of those Monday mornings that Riley and I were talking about it here as we got going this morning. Things just aren't working in the studio this morning. It's like one of those parent weekends where everything seemed to update on the computers, and that caused some screen issues and all kinds of things, to be completely honest with you. So I'm sorry if the show this morning does not go as smoothly as it usually does, or if it sounds a little bit wonky. But today, things just not going exactly perfectly as you would expect in the studios. But we will push through. We got a full show today for you, as we always do on a Monday, recapping the sports weekend and looking ahead to today. We will, of course, have the weekend winners and losers coming up here in just a matter of moments. Nick Athen, our friend from ChiefsBlitz.com, going to stop by and visit with us and talk a whole different topics of sports, whether it be college basketball, KU basketball, of course, the NFL, if we get into that. But we're going to probably talk some baseball, too, more than likely, with the Royals going 1-2 in their opening series. But we will get to all that coming up here in today's show. And, of course, anything we miss, we'll try to pick up in the leftovers portion of this program. As always, if you'd like to be part of the program, would love to hear from you through our FNB Bank text line. The number is 785-899-2222, 785-899-2222. That is the number to be a part of the Morning Blitz. By the way, if you do want to send in rainfall reports like Rob did, you are certainly welcome to do so. We'll get those out. He got just a 0.21 melted snow. And then he had just over a quarter of an inch on last night, I should say. So he's got himself a nice half-inch of moisture right there. You'll certainly take that. So anyway, if you want to get those in, we'll get those reported out on the FNB Bank text line at 785-899-2222. I hope everyone had a nice weekend. I know the weather has certainly, once again, yet last week was a beautiful week, had sunshine, had gorgeous evenings. I know the family and me. We went on bike rides and went out to spend a lot of time outside, and it's great and it's wonderful. And then you get to the weekend, and then the weather was going to get cooler and possibly damper in some spots, which it did. And then unfortunately, what happens is everyone just gets sick. That's the thing. People get used to the warm weather, and then all of a sudden it changes for the worse, and then everyone gets sick. My house is nothing but a coughing fest. It was like a chorus of coughs this morning inside the Volkmer household. So hopefully everyone out there is staying healthy is my hope, because if you're like my house, I feel bad because I woke up this morning and I've got my two older ones coughing and my wife coughing, and then of course me and the youngest we're trying to avoid it. He started it all. The youngest one did. I still have not got it yet. Knock on wood. Don't want to get that. I want to stay away from that as much as I possibly can with a busy week ahead. Okay, let's get rolling here on today's program if we are able to do so. I'm not going to lie. The problem with this, deal is that we have I'm going to have to figure out how to do this, I guess, before we even start the show, because we had some, there we go, get to this. We had a computer power outage or something along those lines. I'm not even 110% sure what we did to do this, but it's I'm trying to get the computer to work, and I don't know if it's going to work or not. We're going to see if it works or not. I have no idea. I'm kind of crossing my fingers and hoping, and yeah, we'll we'll make do until I figure out what we have to do. But we had some issues with the monitors once again. It's that kind of morning. All right, let's get rolling. We've got to get to weekend winners and losers.
There are two kinds of people in this world.
There's winners and there's losers.
Which ones were which this past weekend?
I want winners.
Loser! You're a loser!
It's the weekend's winners and losers on the Morning Blitz.
You want to be a winner, you be a winner.
All right, lots of weekend winners and losers to get to. I'm going to start first and foremost off a little local here, get things going locally with what is, I saw that the girls came out, I think it was back on probably Thursday or Friday. Boys came out this weekend with Keisha Covered's All-State Hoopers. They named their, I talked, I think on Friday it was about Keisha had their top 15 basketball players, and I shout out to Brady Brumbaugh as well as Shylin's Taylor McCarty, who made the top 15 in the state of Kansas. Both were third-team selections across the state, but saw this past weekend that Keisha Covered had the All-State Hoopers all honored, and there were 10 kids. And I want to highlight the 10 kids here that made first, second, or third team honors. So they do first, second, third, and they have honorable mention. And there were plenty of kids that got named in the honorable mention. But there were 10 that I counted from kind of our listening region in our 9-county radius that were named as first, second, or third team All-State honors from Keisha. On the boys' side, that included Goodland's Brady Brumbaugh. He was a first-team 3A All-State player. He was also in a three-way tie for the 3A Boys Basketball Player of the Year, thanks to Sports in Kansas, which just ridiculous. Him, Reed Friesen, and Jack Riley, I believe is his name, from Galena. Those three guys all tied for the 3A Player of the Year. The first time I think it's first time or second time it ever happened in the history of that voting. Other first-team selections in 1A Division I, Quinter's Shea Salyers had a phenomenal season. Greeley County's Lincoln Schaefer in 1A D1. Weskin's Trey Allen was a second-team selection in 1A Division II. Just a little bit outside of listening, I know that Dighton's Daniel Kramer was a first-team selection in 1A D2. Rhett Katz, I believe, was a second-team selection in 1A D2. So there were some guys that were just a little bit outside of our range that made those lists, though. But congratulations to those guys on first, second, or third-team All-State honors from Keisha. On the girls' side, Colby's Elizabeth Barton, a first-team All-3A selection, much deserved. She had a phenomenal season. Quinter's Bryn Gillespie was a second-teamer in 1A D1. Katie Shively of Rollins County was a third-team selection in 1A D1. And then in 1A Division II, you had Wallace County's Jersey Benish and Shylin's Taylor McCarty. They were second-team 1A D2. And Natalie Bixby Wheaton Grinnell was on the third team in that classification that we saw. And I believe there was a young lady from a Spear girl from Dighton that made it in 1A Division II as well that I think I'd remember off the top of my head there. So it was very, like I said, a very fruitful basketball season. We talked about that a lot throughout this previous basketball year about how many great players, that were around the area. No matter if it's boys or girls, if it's Elizabeth Barton or, Taylor McCarty, we talked about a ton. On the boys' side, whether it's Brady Brumbaugh or Trey Allen and Weskin or Shea Salyers at Quinter or Rhett Katz, so many great players. And, of course, I go back to that conversation we had a couple months ago with Colby Community College head men's basketball coach Jared Stanford. We talked about how talented, especially on the boys' side, how much good talent there was in this senior class, and there was a lot of it. Now, not all the players mentioned a moment ago are seniors. Some of them will be back next year, but there's just a great amount of talent in those area schools. So congratulations to those ladies and those guys that got honored as first, second, and third team All-State honors from Keisha Covered. That was really, really cool. So they're my first winners of the weekend. Second winner of the weekend, Goodland's Destiny Gonzalez continued her phenomenal career as a high school wrestler. In fact, pretty much capped it as she ended up winning down at the Shriner Duels down in Wichita this past weekend. She won her match, and she was actually voted as the wrestler of the year, I think, by the Shriners. So she won like this cool pink belt, a heavyweight belt, which was really, really cool. She's had a phenomenal career, been unbelievable, and she's going to continue wrestling, I believe, at Colby Community College next season. And so that's really, really cool. So she's a winner of the weekend, once again, going down there and having great success. And there were some other great area wrestlers. Easton Nicholson from Hoxie and Shane Todd from from St. Francis. Tavia Kane went down there from Oakley. There were lots of other area wrestlers that I'm forgetting, unfortunately, but that went down and wrestled in those Shriner duels, which, of course, our good friend and former co-host of this program, Bryce Kessler, is one of the guys helping in charge with that. So a great showing from that. But Goodland's Destiny Gonzalez, once again, winning the female wrestler of the year there, according to the Shriners. Very, very cool, or the MVP, whatever you want to call that. She was fantastic, and she is a weekend winner. Another winner of the weekend. How about regional college baseball teams? I mean, what a weekend it was on the diamond for whether it was Division I college baseball teams or even the JUCOs. Colby Community College baseball is on an absolute heater. They have now won 12 in a row. The Trojans swept Dodge City on Saturday in their doubleheader, completing what was a 4-game sweep of Dodge City. And it was all in come from behind fashion on Saturday. Trojans scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th in a 7-inning game to come back and win that one in walk-off fashion 9-8. And then in game 2, they were down, and in the bottom of the 8th of a 9-inning game, I should say, they were able to take a 1-run lead, 8-7 in the bottom of the 8th, and then held on for the final 3 outs. So almost like a walk-off win, but not exactly. So the Trojans once again have won 12 in a row, which is so hard to do in the game of baseball, and are 10-2 in the Jayhawk, which, by the way, puts them in first in the West standings. Now, they haven't played as many games as Barton has, who is in second place, but the Trojans, by way of record, are the top team in the West standings right now. And such a great bounce-back season from the Trojans after last year was such a tough one. 2 years ago, they had a phenomenal year, made a great run all the way to the Region 6 championship, but then were unable. But then, actually, might have been 3 years ago now that I think about it. But it's been a while, but it wasn't that long ago. Last year, remember, Coach Carter said it was one of his favorite teams he's ever coached. Unfortunately, they really didn't win much at all. Didn't even get to 20 wins. But this year, they are rolling right now and have over 20 wins on this season. They're playing some great baseball, and they'll have a chance to add to that possibly on Tuesday. They will host Colby will host McCook Community College on Tuesday. We'll see if the weather allows that. From the weather that I'm seeing and hearing, it could be warm, but I'm telling you, the wind, the amount of dirt and stuff that could be blowing might make that very hard to play. We will see. But Colby Community College baseball, a humongous winner of the weekend. But that was just the tip of the iceberg for regional college baseball teams. Kansas State, you heard it there in the intro, with a walk-off winner on Sunday over Texas Tech. They came from behind. They get a big 2 RBI knock, which drives in the tying run and the winning run to walk it off against Texas Tech. And K-State sweeps Texas Tech. So they get all 3 games this weekend. We visit, of course, with the voice of K-State baseball, and he did the games on ESPN Plus and Matt Walters on Friday with that conversation. They've just got great belief there in Manhattan. And they take 3 games from Texas Tech, who's kind of been the Big 12 power. If you take out, of course, Texas, they've kind of been one of the top teams. So is Oklahoma State, which more on that in just a minute. But Kansas State sweeps Texas Tech, and they have got themselves, and now they're sitting atop of the Big 12. They're sitting atop of the Big 12 standings. They are atop of the Big 12 standings, as is Kansas. They're up there as well. Them and Kansas State are both in the top 3 of the Big 12 standings. It's Kansas State number 1, Arizona State and KU tied for number 2. So they are both in the top 3 of the Big 12 standings. KU getting up there thanks to a sweep of Oklahoma State, another one of the power teams in the Big 12, but they swept Oklahoma State this past weekend. So huge weekend for Kansas State and KU, and there's a lot of chatter on social media about, can we just have the Sunflower Showdown for baseball right this next week? I think it's coming up in a couple weeks, but people want to see that now because you've got Kansas State is just playing a great even play of baseball all around. Good hitting, good defense, good pitching. KU's absolutely raking the baseball out of the ballpark. They're one of the top home run hitting teams in the nation, and people want to see that series. I admit I want to see that series. But K-State sweeps Texas Tech. KU swept Oklahoma State. A great weekend for baseball. And I saw, according to D1 Baseball, KU remains ranked in the top 25 at number 3. I was going to pull up the RPI college baseball ratings. I wanted to see where these teams sit at this point in time. I'm going to pull this RPI up here real quick and take a peek and see where Kansas and Kansas State sit. because Kansas State is number 25 at this point in time in the RPI. Kansas is number 44 at this point in time in the season. So really good showing from them. I was going to look up one more, and that was actually going into this weekend. So that has not been updated yet. So I take that back. So more than likely they have moved up. So Kansas State could be more than likely in the top 20. KU probably going to be in the top 30, I would say, probably after their sweeps of, once again, of Texas Tech by Kansas State and Oklahoma State by KU. So they're humongous winners of the weekend. And cannot forget about the shirt I'm wearing this morning, the Nebraska Cornhusker baseball team. It has been a horrific season. Going into the year, Nebraska was picked to win the Big Ten or be one of the top 2 teams in the Big Ten. But can they find a way to win some series? No, they had a horrific start. They dropped series to USC, dropped series to UCLA. They were really struggling. They were really having a really rough go. They returned home this weekend to host number 5 ranked Oregon State, and they take 2 out of 3 in what was a slugfest there in Lincoln. A ton of runs were scored, but they get 2 out of 1 in a series that they absolutely had to have. Nebraska has a very experienced baseball team, a lot of guys back, and the season that they were having just did not add up with the experience that they had in their lineup and in their pitching, and it really was showing. And so Nebraska, if they were going to have a chance at making the postseason without possibly winning winning their own league tournament in the Big Ten, they were going to have to start winning some baseball games against some big teams, and they got it done against Oregon State, who was the number 5 ranked team in the country. And they were a number 15 ranked in the RPI. In Nebraska, 2 out of 3. They actually jumped, I think, from like 126 to like 75 in the RPI. I mean, they jumped like 50 spots in the RPI. And they're going to need to continue that momentum if they're going to have a chance at making the postseason with an at-large bid. They need to really start rolling up the wins, because they'd kind of twiddled around for too much time and didn't beat enough good teams when they possibly had the chance. So once again, in recapping a great weekend for area college baseball teams. It was fantastic. Colby Community College winning 12 in a row, sweeps for KSU and KU, and Nebraska baseball with the 2-1 series victory over 5th-ranked Oregon State. Huge, huge weekend for all the regional baseball teams. On to losers of the weekend, and we're going to shift to basketball. Some people will say that, the NCAA tournament might be a loser of the weekend because for just the second time in the tournament's history, all 4 number 1 seeds are going to be playing in the Final Four. Duke, Auburn, Florida, and Houston all making it to the Final Four for the first time since 2008, and for the second time all time that's happened. So a very, very, very chalky men's tournament. And tonight, the women, there's a chance for all 4 number 1 seeds to make it as well. So if you're a big fan of Cinderella, if you're a big fan of upsets, it's not the year for you. I'm not saying it's a loser of the weekend type of thing, though, but it is kind of sad to not see someone get on a hot streak. That just proved you how talented these 4 teams left standing, at least, and the men's and women's side, how talented they are. But my first real winner of the weekend is going to be Kansas basketball. And boy, if Max was here, he would have a field day with this, because this past weekend, there was huge news on Saturday that KU could possibly be losing their brightest star coming up in their program, and that would be Flory Badunga. Announced that he's going to be entering into the transfer portal. Now, there's still a chance that Flory could come back to Kansas, but there are also rumors that he will not be coming back. And so, to me, the brightest bright spot of what was a down season for Kansas was Flory Badunga, because you're like, that guy is extremely talented. He can jump out of the gym. He finishes around the rim. He rebounds the heck out of the basketball. He was a dude this year for them as just a freshman. But apparently, people are saying through the tea leaves, it's not NIL. I think it's with miscommunication with Bill Self. Bill Self said that he would be kind of the star when he came as a freshman. And, of course, Hunter Dickinson was still around at that time because he didn't have a great year. So Hunter stuck around for another year of college basketball, and that cut into Flory's minutes, I'm guessing, and that probably did not make Flory and his team happy. So the loss of Flory Badunga, now, once again, it's not final, as in he could come back, obviously, to Kansas, but he is in the portal. And my guess is he's going to get some big-time offers somewhere. That is a freak of an athlete and an unbelievable athlete in Flory Badunga. And Yeah, I also saw Rakese Passmore is going to be leaving the Kansas basketball program, which I'm not saying that's a humongous loss there. He played some, but not a ton. But Kansas is seeing the effects of the transfer portal. They're seeing that right now. They're seeing the effects of the transfer portal come into their place. And some people are going to say, I don't know. So I've heard some people say that are outside that, that were outside that had a, that maybe KU's NIL is not as good. And some people say, no, it's just as good as anything. And I don't know, something's not adding up there. And I'm going to get interested to hear what Nick Athen has to say about that coming up here in a little bit. But yeah, loss of Flory Badunga, a humongous loss for KU basketball if they don't get him back. Did see that they did get a Zoom meeting call with Keyshawn Hall from UCF. That would be a heck of a signing if they could get Keyshawn Hall. Now, I do have a little bit of a concern that he was from UCF. He was their number one scorer this year. He was really, really good. If you watch him in the Big 12 tournament, he was fantastic. And he is a ball dominant guard from what I have seen him play. And so he is no doubt a star player. I think he's probably a future NBA player, but with Peterson, the young man that you're bringing in as a freshman, you got to think he is kind of like Keyshawn Hall, I would think. I mean, KU's going to get some big names out of the portal. They are. No matter if they lose Flory or keep Flory, they're going to get some big names. And Keyshawn Hall would be a pretty huge name, in my opinion, out of UCF. Huge name. The question is, would it be too big to where there are some issues next year? Possibly. That would be my biggest thing, with the issues with, once again, team chemistry there at Kansas. We'll see. And finally, one more loser of the weekend, sticking in basketball, Maryland basketball, a loser of the weekend, as their head coach, Kevin Willard, has decided to go to Villanova to take the head coaching job there. I don't have anything against Kevin Willard. Villanova's got they're a basketball school first. They have a ton of tradition there. And so I'm not everything against Kevin Willard, although he was a little weird at the podium after his team got knocked out in the in the Sweet 16 by Florida. That was interesting to see his comments saying he didn't know what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He just wasn't going to come back to Maryland basketball. And, there's been a lot of stories about how Kevin Willard asked for more money from the Maryland basketball, office and from his AD, and they didn't give him the money that he wanted to do some things with his team over the holidays. And so, yeah, I think that kind of rubbed Kevin Willard the wrong way. And he said, okay, I'll go somewhere that's going to not only give me more money, but give me more money to spend on my team, for my roster, and to do with my team what I please. So Maryland basketball, which is to me, a blue blood or a traditional basketball power. They have a national championship in my lifetime. To see them lose a coach to Villanova, I'm sure that really stings. And that's why they're a loser of the weekend to an extent. So there you go. There's weekend winners and losers here on a Monday. Once again, winners, Acacia area Hoopers, Goodland's Destiny Gonzalez for her great performance at the Shrine Duels, area and regional college baseball teams, and then losers, of course, Kansas basketball and Maryland basketball are losers of the weekend. 7:31 Mountain, 8:31 Central Time. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, Nick Athen waiting patiently for us. He'll join us next on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC broadcast stream. You're listening to the Morning Blitz here on a Monday.
Earl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas is hiring now, looking for technicians of all levels and a service advisor to join their team. Enjoy competitive wages, consistent work, plus 401k and health benefits, all in a great work environment. If you're ready for a rewarding career with a trusted dealership, apply today. Visit them in person on South Commerce Road in Goodland or apply on Facebook. Join the Hurl Chevrolet GMC family today.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Monday, March 31st. On the overnight last night, May corn lower a cent at 4.52 1/4. July down 3/4 cents at 4.59 1/4. September down a half cent at 4.34 3/4. December down a cent at 4.41 1/2. May soybeans at 4 1/4 on the overnight at 10.27 1/4. July up 4 cents at 10.41 1/4. August up 4 at 10.38. September up 4 cents at 10.27 3/4. Chicago wheat, the May contract lower a half cent at 5.27 3/4. July down 3/4 at 5.42. September down 3/4 at 5.58 1/2. December down 3/4 at 5.82 3/4. Kansas City wheat, the May contract lower 1 3/4 at 5.50. July down 2 1/4 at 5.63 1/4. September down 2 3/4 at 5.78. 3/4. December down 2 3/4 at 602 3/4. Don't forget we have a March planning intentions report out today. On the stock market, the Dow down $264 at 41,587. The S&P down $50 at 5,572. Nasdaq down $245 at 19,213. Gold higher $41 at 3,156. Crude oil up 38 cents a barrel at 69.74. If you have any questions about marketing grain and would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call, John Hankey or John Stiles at 970-744-4484, or in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Flito, Jared Law, or Heather Ghosh at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
When challenging conditions arise, we don't back down. We up our game. Outpacing the competition with innovations fueled by Bayer's R&D, keeping you equipped with an expanded portfolio, elite genetics, and additional local test plots. Channel leads the field, so you can rise above. See how you can save at channel.com/finance24. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
Farmer Amaranth. 4 counts of yield theft, resistance to groups 2, 4, 9.
You ain't got nothing on me, man.
We've been surveilling you. And now we've got Tough 5 EC, a tank mix partner that'll make sure you and your gang of resistant weeds never see the daylight again.
Crack down on repeat offenders. Add Tough 5 EC to your post-emergence tank mix. Learn more at toughnweeds.com. Always read and follow label directions. Tough is a registered trademark of Belgium Crop Protection.
You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
I want to give a shout out real quick to listeners chiming in with their weekend winners. Thanks to Larry. Yes, good point, Larry. Shout out to Dodge City JUCO women who won 58-41 Saturday. They play tonight in the semifinals against Shelton State of the NJCAA women's basketball tournament. Of course, Landon Steele, head coach there, former Weston native. And unnamed texter, another weekend winner, even at a loss. Shout out to Kansas State women's basketball. They lose to USC. Tough, hard-fought game. Had a chance there, and at multiple times, just USC got 2 good performances out of some freshmen to get the win there in advance into the Elite Eight there on Saturday night. Okay, let's welcome into the program our good friend from ChiefsBlitz.com. That's Nick Athen joining us on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. Good morning, Nick. How are we doing today, buddy?
Good, Ross. How you doing, pal?
I'm glad that we got the memo. We both wore red today. Maybe
we both wore red. We got the times right. I didn't screw it up like last time.
That's all right. We'll forgive you. That was the first time ever. Think about it. We've done this a long time.
What are we at? 6, 7 years, 8 years, something like that?
Yeah. So, this worked out all right.
All right. All good.
Boy, what did you think of the NCAA tournament on the men's side, getting all 4 number 1 seeds? Are you a fan of that? I mean, some people love it because it's the best team still standing, but what are your thoughts on it?
I hate it. I mean, this was the least exciting NCAA basketball tournament I think I've seen in a really long time.
Yeah.
With the NIL dominating and kids transferring and just the way that college basketball and football has become basically a free agent sport. Those underdog teams just don't have those players anymore because they're going to the rich teams. And, there were really no major upsets. You had a couple of 10s and 7s. Obviously, Kansas lost in the first round. But, listen, these are the 4 best teams in college basketball. They've been the 4 best teams, I think, all year. So they certainly deserve I think this is since 93, the last time all 4 were number 1.
2008.
Okay, sorry.
It's the last time that they made it. I saw that all 4 teams that they made it to the number 1 seed.
So I mean, listen, Houston. I just love the way they play basketball. I love Calvin Sampson. I love the way he coaches. I love the way he recruits. Auburn is a great team. Florida's probably the weak link. But Duke, it just sucks that we got Duke and Houston in the semi. That should be the final because I think those are the 2 best teams in college basketball. But Duke is just on a mission, and I think that they're just so talented and so good and so strong. I can't see them losing this the Final Four. But to have 4 number 1 seeds, it's great for the sport. It's great for CBS or TNT or whatever whatever channels they're going to broadcast this game on. But for the fans who like the underdog story, this is not your basketball tournament anymore.
No, it's definitely not. And look, I love to see the underdogs make a run too. I think it's fun. But I think the one thing that stands out to me is that we just really have, you said earlier, we just really haven't had a lot of good games. Like, you're just like, you take out Derek Queen's fadeaway kiss off the glass in their winner there over Colorado State.
Yeah.
That's about the only what I feel like is like true March Madness moment that we've had this year in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, we just didn't have anything exciting. And of course, when the local schools, Kansas State wasn't a participant, Missouri goes out, Kansas goes out. From a Midwest perspective, it kind of takes the thunder out of it. I guess what Colorado's playing in whatever that post-tournament is.
The crown, baby.
The crown thing. I saw that this morning. I'm like, what? So,
because Nebraska's in it too. So
yeah, Nebraska's in it too. I forgot. Sorry about that. I don't want to diss any of my Nebraska fans here. The NCAA is talking about expanding it, going another 8 teams or something like that to 72, to create some more excitement, to get some more schools opportunities. But, what's it going to do? It's going to give them a nice little payday, which they deserve, for being a smaller school, or maybe it's a top school that just has a bad year like North Carolina did this year, being an 11th seed and having to play in the play-in game. But, college basketball's broken. College football's on the verge of being broken as well. And it's just kind of sad that for us old dogs, I mean, you're not as old as I am, but for me, I still remember the Big 8 tournament, the Big 12 tournament. And I remember when it was 32 teams. And, I remember when UCLA came into Lawrence, Kansas and, upset the Jayhawks in the round of 32. It's just, and all the blue bloods and all the great stories, the Danny Ainge moments and the Danny Manning moments and all these things that, we grew up loving this sport. And it's just become a ratings thing. And it's just the top shelf of players and the bottom shelf of players. It's very reminiscent of what's going on in Major League Baseball.
No, I agree. Where they're going is not a good deal. And I've said before, if they're not careful and they don't probably get this put together in some sort of way, it will impact them down the road.
Yep.
And that's when you're going to be like, well, shoot, we shouldn't have done that. And Nick Athen, once again, our guest from ChiefsBlitz.com. You brought up the point about expanding the tournament. The thing is, they're going to expand the tournament, but it's only going to put more of the power schools in. You're not going to see, other possible mid-majors make it. It's only going to be from, instead now the SEC will have 16 teams in, and the ACC will get 3 more teams in. They're not going to allow the other teams that may have an interesting or really good season, like I was talking about the Missouri Valley, like Bradley had a really good year this year, or Northern Iowa.
Right.
They're not going to get in.
No.
And that's the sad part. I mean, if you're going to expand the tournament, it needs to be made for more of those teams to get in.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind too, Ross, is at some point you're going to have 4 or 5 super conferences of 24 teams. And that's going to change everything. I mean, the Big 12, Brett Yormark, man, he's just, he sees the vision. He sees the future. Now, we may not all like it, and we may not want to be part of it, but he sees the big picture. And, they're going to be at 24 teams, and eventually you're going to have 4 conferences of 24 teams, and that's going to be those are going to be the dominant conferences. And then all those other schools won't be in the NCAA basketball tournament. They won't have a chance in the NCAA football, when they expand probably to 16 teams. So if you look at the overall landscape, and money is ruling, where ESPN and Fox and NBC get all this money when viewership on their mother networks is so poor, it's just mind-boggling to me that they've these universities have all sold out. And it's only going to get worse. And when those 4 super conferences come, and maybe there's a 5th, maybe they go 20 deep with 5 conferences, they're going to dominate everything. They're going to have their own NCAA basketball tournament. The football playoffs going to be coming from those schools and those schools only. And everybody else is going to be left in the dust. And the sad part is, Ross, no one's going to care. These big time universities and these big super conferences, They don't care about the little guys anymore. And that's what's ruining sports today. We don't have enough little guys anymore.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Nick Athen, our guest here on the Morning Blitz. We're talking, you talked to Kansas basketball. They're a little bit not making the tournament. So they had an early exit. Boy, yesterday, or I think it was Saturday, some huge news that Flory Badunga was going to go in the portal. And I'm guessing that hit a lot of Kansas fans really hard in the gut. I mean, it can't all be that shocking considering the era that we're in now where it's free players can roam whenever they want. But I think that was a guy, I know when I watch Kansas basketball, like there's a guy they can build around in Flory. And for him to want to get up and go, now he could come back still, but for him to want to get up and go, that's a pretty big loss for KU basketball and for their kind of that pride and ego.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm more of an optimist when it comes to Flory. Bill Self met with him and his family yesterday. They had a long visit. This is obviously about money. They've got arguably one of the best recruits in the country coming in, and he mentioned he wants to play with Flory. I don't think all is lost with Flory just quite yet. I think there's an opportunity for Kansas to save the day. He's the only guy worth bringing back. I mean, you're just going to have to gut the roster. And again, this is something – Bill Self is one of the best recruiters in the country. The problem is these one-and-dones and these portal kids – he's trying to mesh an old school college basketball playing format, high-low and all those kinds of things. You need speed. You need guys that can penetrate. You need guys that can shoot the rock. You just need more athleticism, and that's something he has just not put forth yet. And I think that's why Flory is looking at transferring elsewhere. I mean, he's clearly going to be one of the top 5 recruits. Now, kudos to Kansas. They're in on 2 or 3 of the kids, including the kid from UCF who would be a tremendous asset. The top 3 or 4 guys are all looking at Kansas. So, Bill Self has got to change his coaching style. His coaching staff is a little stale. Yes, they can recruit, and yes, they make a lot of money. But, I bring back Kelvin Sampson again. What did he do? He jobbed and jobbed and jobbed, and he finally goes to Houston with a bunch of NIL money. And what does he recruit? He doesn't recruit prima donnas. He doesn't recruit guys that don't fit his specific system of just crash basketball. And Bill Self needs to adapt. 20 years on the job, 2 national championships. You'd think he'd have more, and that's not a knock on Self. But this is the most critical year of Self's career. If he wants to keep coaching at Kansas, he's got the number 1 recruit, the second best recruit in the country. He's got all these kids who want to play there. He has got to win a championship next year, I think, to kind of stem off the fan base, who sadly and rightfully so are really frustrated with him. And with Flory, it's not as much about the money. It's the coaching style. It's how he was used this year. Highly disappointed in the way that they kept playing Hunter Dickinson over Flory. He didn't get enough minutes, and that made his people upset. And so Self's going to have to rebrand Kansas basketball, and keeping him is vital.
It's amazing, though. You want to gut the roster, like you said, and I understand why Kansas fans would want to say that to an extent, but I just feel like in the game of basketball, particularly, it's such about knowledge of your teammate, and to build that up every single year and restart from scratch is so hard. I know there was, to me, it was interesting over the weekend. I mentioned it, talk about how they were looking and had a Zoom call with Keyshawn Hall of Central Florida, who I think is probably a future NBA player. He's really, really talented. But you bring him in along with the Peterson kid, who might be the same type of player. Mm-hmm. How's that all going to gel together? Yeah. I think that's maybe the biggest thing I think with Bill Self is that he's had a hard time. He's been able to get all the pieces in. Yep. He can't gel it all together. Once again, I don't know. There's a lot of coaches that just struggle to gel it all together. How do you gel all these pieces together if you're starting over almost every other year, if not every year in some cases for some schools?
Yeah, and that's the problem. He doesn't have athletic teams. I mean, Hunter Dickinson is not athletic. I mean, white man can't jump. I mean, that's clearly him. The point guard was a problem for them all season long. I mean, you got a guy who's been in college, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. It just doesn't work anymore. And you've got to. Roy Williams had some of the best teams in Kansas basketball history because he just let them run. And he just let them run the court. And if you watch the 4 number 1 seeds, what do they all have in common? They can run the floor. They drive to the basket. They have court awareness. They are all great at the offensive rebound. And, that's the kind of basketball team you have to have now to compete. And, when the Big 12 expanded, Kansas was like, Well, they were the top dog. They're not the top dog anymore. Houston is better. Arizona's better. BYU's better. BYU's got the top recruit coming into the country. You're going up against teams that understand the new style of basketball. And like I said, for Bill Self, you have to be able to go in and say, okay, I gotta coach differently. I can't play the high-low system because it doesn't work. You can't force feed it when you don't have the talent to make it run. And if you can't play defense and you can't defend a three, well, then you're really in trouble. And what's another common denominator with all four of these number one seeds? They play defense. They guard the arc. They have guys who are committed to that. These aren't superstars at every position. They got a lot of glue guys who understand the role and are playing for the bigger picture. And when kids put on that Kansas uniform, it's not the name on the back. It's the name on the front. It's the history. It's the want to. It's the desire. And, he has to find more guys like that. You can't just take a top shooter if you can't play defense, if he can't penetrate, if he doesn't have a good IQ on the field. You just can't take guys like that. And hopefully Bill Self has learned something, the last couple of years. Because, ever since the incident, with his health issues, to me, he just hasn't had that same fire. Now, I may be talking out of both sides of my mouth here. I don't really know everything that goes on. But when you have a life-changing event like that, you kind of have to look at things differently. But he needs to be aggressive in this offseason. He has to change his stripes a little bit.
Before we let you go, Nick, I wanted to get your thoughts on opening series for the Kansas City Royals. Now, you're going to be doing a Royals Blitz opening up here in the next month or so. What are your thoughts on the Royals? They lose the series to the Guardians 2-1. I don't know. I guess to me, it seemed like offense was not enough, especially late in games.
Yeah, I was there for opening day, and that eighth inning was just like it was a head scratcher. I mean, it goes down to baseball IQ. You just don't run in, you just don't do things in certain situations. You got to have court awareness. You got to have base pad awareness. You got to, they didn't get the big hit that, in the first game. Vinny comes back and hits that, starts off with that 3-run bomb, and then it just kind of unfolded. The Royals had plenty of chances. And, I think the problem is the hitting, the starting pitching wasn't great. Let's be honest with you. They threw a lot of pitches. They weren't as efficient as the Guardians / Indians. I'm sorry. I just can't get over the Guardians thing. It's the stupidest thing ever. I think their lineup is top heavy. I think you go 1 through 4, 1 through 5, you're pretty solid. But 6, 7, 8, and 9 is just terrible. I love Isbell as a defender, but he can't hit. Massey's hot and cold. Massey's the key. If Massey's bat just picks up, then that gives him, 6 legitimate bats in the lineup. But they're going to have to make room for Jack at some point. They're going to have to make some changes. I mean, they don't really have a quote unquote third baseman. They need a better right fielder. They need a better center fielder. Yet, the division isn't all that great. I mean, the Guardians, I don't think their bullpen is going to be as strong this year as last year. I just don't see it. The difference between them and the Royals right now is their bats 5 through 9 are really strong. And, those are guys that get on base and they set the table for the 1 through 4 guys, and then they can produce their own runs, which is important. But I thought the starting pitching was weak. I thought the bullpen outside of Zerpa was really strong. I love I love Estevez. Ursig is great. That's a powerful 1-2 punch. And if Harvey, can kind of master his problems from before, you've got 3 solid relievers there that can go 7, 8, 9. It may not be what the past history of the 14-15 Royals was, but they've got to hit the ball, and they're just not hitting the ball.
Well, it's only series number 1. And
this is true. We can nitpick all we want. I mean, I have my Royals kept this morning.
There's 158 games to go, so it'll be okay. But yeah, interesting opening start to this season for the Royals. He is Nick Athen, of course, at ChiefsBlitz.com and soon to be RoyalsBlitz.com as well. Nick, thank you so much for your time and insight, my buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Ross. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you.
Once again, great stuff there from Nick Athen here on the Morning Blitz. Okay, well, let's get to timeout. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show with some leftovers next. You're listening to the Morning Blitz here on a Monday morning.
Spring is here, and Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware has everything you need for the season. Get your lawn looking its best with Ultimate Fertilizer and power up with Ego blowers and mowers. Got a project? They got a surplus of lumber ready to go. Plus, fire up the fun with their selection of grills and griddles. Hoover's is also proud to sponsor the Pioneer 5K, 10K, half, and full marathon supporting Colby Community College cross country on April 26th and remind you to sign up and participate. It's Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your one-stop shop for spring.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
Buy one iPhone 16 Pro Max and get one on Next Tech Wireless. iPhone 16 Pro Max is powered by the A18 Pro chip and built for Apple Intelligence. Now available in 4 stunning finishes: black titanium, white titanium, natural titanium, and desert titanium. Which iPhone 16 Pro Max color will you choose? Stop by a location near you to take advantage of this amazing deal today. Next Tech Wireless, connecting Kansans.
The Farmers State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment, or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. The Farmers State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
You're tuned in to the Morning Blitz.
Great call. Love where your head's at.
With Ross Volkmer.
Thank you again to Nick Athen for joining us on the program. Great insight on all different types of topics. As we continue on here on the Morning Blitz, wanted to get to a couple things, didn't get to in the first segment of Weekend Winners and Losers. Colby Community College softball on Saturday hosted Dodge City as well. They got a split. They lose game 1 14-1. They had a bad third inning, gave up 9 runs in the third to DC3. Responded well in game 2. They're 10-2. They get a 10-2 win, I should say, thanks to Jenna Funk, and I think it's Tiffany Mime. I think Mime is how you say her last name, combining to drive in 7 runs to those two young ladies. CCC now 23-16 overall, but just 4-12 in league play as they get set to go and play at Barton coming up here on Wednesday. Fort Hays Tech Northwest women still struggling to find that win column. Swept down at Butler 14-0, 18-0, both games over in 5 innings. They're 0-24. We talked about the Royals going 1-2 on the weekend. Yesterday, they lost 6-2 to the Guardians. Michael Waka, just 4 innings. Cleveland hit 3 home runs. Kyle Mazzardo was looking like Babe Ruth this weekend for Cleveland. He was hitting everything out, it felt like. Kansas City got a couple of runs late. Bobby Witt Jr. had an RBI single, and Hunter Renfroe had a bases-loaded walk, but that's about it. Saturday, Royals a little bit better. Jr. had an RBI hit down the line. Michael Garcia hit a line drive homer, which helped power the Royals to come from behind and win that second game. But they've got a series coming up here against with Chris Bubich on the mound. They are in Milwaukee today, opening up a series there, which of course you can hear on AM 790 KXXX, where you hear your Royals baseball. As for the Rockies, dropped their series finale in Tampa yesterday, 6-4 to the Rays. Brandon Lau, a 2-run homer in the first, and Tampa Bay really never looked back. Although a couple of things there. Mickey Moniak, the young man, the former number 1 overall selection for the Angels, who didn't do anything there, he puts on a purple uniform, and in his first time action off the bench, hits a 2-run bomb in the 7th. So a good start for him. He did strike out a little bit later on in the game, so a little bit of a bright spot there. It was interesting to see that game played at a minor league baseball stadium. It was very odd to kind of see. It didn't feel very big leaguish, but they played it where the Yankees play their spring ball. It's at Hank Steinbrenner Field, or is it George Steinbrenner Field? Nonetheless, that's where the Yankees play spring training, and that's where the Rays are playing. It felt small. It was interesting. Rockies did get a win on Saturday, though, behind just some phenomenal defense. I mean, there was some unbelievable defense being played by the Rockies. Their offense did just enough, but their defense was fantastic on Saturday as they were able to get their first win of the season. But they are 1-2 on the year, heading into a 3-game set with the Phillies today in Philadelphia. Herman Marquez gets the start for Colorado. Of course, you can hear that game on AM 730 KLOE.
And back lifts his ball high, deep to right. How about a walk-off Gray? Thomas to the 10. Difference going on in New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
One interesting thing, I don't know if anybody's been watching this very closely, but if you want to witness history, there might be a chance to see that here in the coming days and weeks. Alex Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals and their hockey team, 5 goals away from breaking the great one, Wayne Gretzky's record for goals scored. He's 5 goals away, a record that many people thought would never get touched ever again. The Great 8, as he's known, Alex Ovechkin, 5 goals away from breaking. I think he's got to get to 995, I think is what it is, to break Gretzky's record. It's an unbelievable record that could get smashed, and we may not see someone come close to it for a very long time. The longevity it takes to get there is the impressive thing for Ovechkin. Don't forget tonight, of course, inside the Goodlands Max Jones Fieldhouse, you have the Dairyland Donkey Ball. It's going to be happening. You'll have the junior class, the senior class, the alumni all squaring off from what is going to be, I have a feeling, something very entertaining. But that's inside the Max Jones Fieldhouse tonight with 7 o'clock. You'll see those young men and women and alumni riding donkeys, which ought to be very entertaining. So that's going on tonight inside the Max Jones Fieldhouse. You do need tickets to get into that, though. So contact a junior, senior class representative. I think it's actually a junior class representative to get that done. All right, that'll do it for our program today. Thanks again to Nick Athen. Thanks to you for tuning in here on a Monday. Going to be a cooler week and a windy week, at least to start. Pretty windy and cool, but it's going to get warmer, I think, this weekend. But it's going to be kind of a cool one for sure. Michael wants to know in the last 30 seconds your thoughts on the torpedo bats the Yankees are using. Hey, if it's within the rules, it's legal. So give them credit. They thought of it, or their MIT guy that's on the staff, he's an MIT grad. Hey, if it's within the rules, then it's fine. If you're bending the rule, if you're breaking the rules, a difference, but they're only bending them. They're still within the rules. So I'm fine with the torpedo bats. See you tomorrow here on the Blitz.
Rocket 102.5 is